right, so hello everyone. My name is Nicole. I am one of the IWS Calgary co-leaders, and we, IWS Network, are super excited to have you here with us to talk about job application and salary negotiation with Sweta Redmi. But first, I want to give you a quick introduction about our organization and some housekeeping items. Okay, so there you go. So for the, I would like to begin the presentation by acknowledging the indigenous people of all lands that we're on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to enhance our own understanding of local indigenous people and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that we call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So about our IWS network, we are a grassroots organization, and our vision is to build a collaborative environment for immigrant and international women in science that promotes equity, diversity, and inclusion in Canada. Our mission is to create awareness about immigrant and international women play in pursuing science in Canada and the challenges they face throughout their careers, thereby promoting network and professional opportunities. Some of our housekeeping items are: please raise your hand or use the chat for questions. Mute yourself if you're not talking. Video on is great, but if you're shy, that's totally fine. Also, please feel free to tweet live about this event and tag IWS Network. Also note that the meeting will be recorded and is being recorded, and that screen snapshots will be taken and may be shared. About, oops, there you go. About our guest speaker, so Sweta Redmi is the founder and CEO of Teach and Do, with more than 18 years of experience in the corporate and nonprofit world. Her journey began in being a consultant, started after she got laid off from a leadership role she was in for more than a decade. So she developed her own job search strategies and tested them out, securing multiple interviews and offers. Eventually, she resigned from her leadership role and to make an impact on the job seekers' lives. So now she enjoys one-on-one teaching and talking about job search strategy to career professionals and newcomers to Canada. So I'll leave now the floor to Sweta, but before, I just want to let everyone know about our social media channels, and also that Slack is our main networking platform where we hope that all of our members across Canada can connect. At the end of this event, we will have breakout rooms where you can connect to people within your city and also with our city leaders. Okay, so you can go ahead now, Sweta.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining in. I think we have more than 41 participants right now. Before I begin, I wanted to ask you guys, how many of you guys are a job seeker right now? Can you type in "I'm a job seeker" right now on the chat sections? I'd like to see. Let me see how many of you are job seeker. Type 1 for job seeker. That's a good one. Type 1. All right. Okay, which is good. I mean, which is absolutely good. You're a job seeker. If you know, you're in the right webinar today. Now, let me ask you the question: is this going to be first job? If it's going to be first job, type in 2 for me on the chat. All right, few people, it's coming. All right, okay. And type in 3 if you're newcomers to Canada. 3 for newcomers in Canada. Oh, a lot of newcomers. Awesome. Type in 4, number 4, if you're switching, if you're planning to switch. Okay. People over here, they already have a job. They are trying to switch. All right. Exciting audience. I'm pretty excited. So I have a mix of everyone, which is fantastic. All right. So a lot of 4s out there too. Fantastic. Great. All right. So we have a very good mixture. All right, perfect. Thank you guys. So Nicole gave such an amazing introductions. I'm not going to repeat myself. I am a career consultant. I am a founder and CEO at Teach and Do. So I was a newcomer. For those of you who typed in whatever number, I can totally relate. I was a newcomer in Canada 21 years ago, guys, 21 years ago. It's going to be my birthday tomorrow. I'm going to be 41 tomorrow. So I've done it all. I have done it all, from survival jobs, working in the factory, working in the fast food, and right out of college, I got a job in banking sector. I was working in sales as well, and I got the job in bank, and that's how I moved up. It was a contact center, one of the top bank in the world, used to be ING Direct, Fortune 500 companies, and that's how I moved up in a ladder. Let me tell you, when I started my job, I never negotiated. I didn't even think there was a negotiation at all, right? Until I became a hiring manager, when I saw the other side of what goes on at the background. So that's when I decided, okay, well, I guess I should have negotiated, right? So I know what it feels when you're a newcomer and you just want to be desperate and you just want to get the job. But today, make a promise to me. Doesn't matter even if it's your first job, even if you had no experience, just try to negotiate on things, and we're going to talk about it. If it's not salary, what are you going to negotiate on, right? So we're going to talk about it a little bit in detail, but I really want you to take a vow today and not think that you don't deserve higher pay just because you are a newcomer. You left the country, but you did not leave the skills. And for all of us, I think I can say that there are majority of us right now, we're women in this platform right now, I think. And you know what? Just because we're women, that does not mean that we're less than anybody at all, right? Because it comes in there's imposter syndrome. It gets to us when there's a comparison, when we're looking at anything. Are we good at something? So we gotta pump it up. We gotta feel confident. And let me ask you this before I jump in right there. Why do you think us as a women do not negotiate salary? What do you think is the number one reason? Can you type it in? What do you think the number one reason is? No, men, sorry, no, I'm just saying the men should not leave. Men are really, study proves it, and I'm going to talk to you about it. Men are really good at negotiating, so hang in there. Maybe you have some tips for all of us as a women. So now, let's ask you this, everybody. Why do you think we are bad at negotiating, especially women? What's the number one thing? Nicole says non-confrontational. That's correct. What else? Lack of confidence. Not raised for that, Fernanda. That's correct. What else? We understand our value. Absolutely. What else? So honestly, we're speaking the same language. We don't not great at taking risks. Yeah, fear of being rejected. Don't know the exact salary. Oh my God, these are all the things we all feel it. Every single one of us actually feels this, and we're not ready to admit it, right? So there's a study that was done by Stanford. 2021 February, and then that there's a quote. It's on our website and a blog. I'm going to put the blog later, a little bit later on. You can read about it. What an eye opener, especially on the STEM industry, the industry you're in right now. There's a 2% gap between men and women, and it's all, when they've done the research, it was all based on the self-confidence. That's an issue. So there's a pay. You know, we just had what a coincidence that we had a equal pay day yesterday. I posted something about it, and I actually told people that was my first salary negotiation, and I can share that. How many of you guys follow me on LinkedIn? I just posted something yesterday. If I'm repeating it, you're gonna have to hear it again. Okay, all right, Nicole does. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my first salary negotiations, how I did it. And what an eye-opener that was for me. And then I never stopped not negotiating it. And probably like you can relate as well. So I was a hiring manager for so long. I mean, like more than 12 years from the corporate, world. And I just got this massive project. And I got that project, and I saved company millions of dollars. It was really successful. And there was a restructuring going on within the department where I was kind of handpicked for that role, that I'm going to be pointed from here to there on that different role based on the project, massive project that became successful. And they just gave me the job descriptions, created the role for me, different title, totally different title, and that title was not even found anywhere else, right? But that was given to me as a lateral move. And when I looked at the job descriptions, part of it was, something that I was doing already, but all probably 70% of it was something that I'd be doing different, like in different things. So I had no idea. It was like shooting myself in the dark when someone actually gives you the paper and then just go like, hey, you're promoted, congratulations. You're gonna have to do more work, but there's no money, literally, right? That I felt like that was a slap on my face. So what I did, here's what I did. I didn't want to negotiate. I didn't want to burn that bridge. I really wanted to go and do that meaningful work. But then I was willing to walk out because I already had a job in the different department. So, I went to the management director at that point, and I said, I brought in my numbers, what I did for the company, how much I saved, I brought in. And then I said, listen, this is what I did, right? I saved you this much cost. And for you to come to me with a job description, which is not really similar, because lateral move is something that it makes it look like it's similar. But let's put it this way. Any job that you hop in, even if it's a similar, it's not going to be similar. You still have to learn. You still have to get to know a new team. You still have to manage the team, right? And depends on what kind of team you're leading as well, right? It was a completely different team. So I made a case, and he said, well, I think that's the way it is. I think you're going to have to take it. But he was willing to listen. I said, you know what, I told him, I don't need the answer right now, but how about you go back and run this with HR, because it's completely new title. I get it. Probably we have no idea how much is the range, but I kind of have an idea. But how about you go back, run it by your manager, which is VP and HR, and you come back to me and let's revisit next week. I gave him a timeline. And honestly, inside my heart, it was pounding. It was like, oh my God, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It was so scary. That was my first negotiation. I didn't give him a number. And after a week, he comes back and he goes, okay, this is what we can offer. It was $10,000 more with more bonus on it. I was willing to take whatever they gave me, but I just tried my luck. And that's when I never stopped, right? You have to start from somewhere. And I always tell people the answer is always going to be no when you don't ask. And all I did was ask. And you know what? I might have taken that job, but I had that audacity of, I knew my worth. I saved them money, and I was willing to walk out and tell them, like, you know, I think right now I'm okay with where I am right now. I don't really need the promotions, right? What's at the stake matters as well at the point. So everyone is different, right? For newcomers, for those of you who are listening to me right now, newcomers, maybe you're desperate, maybe you've been unemployed for a couple of months and you want to take anything, but I want you to go back and ask. And always, it depends on what kind of industry as well, right? Let's keep it real here. I'm not going to paint the picture and say it's going to be amazing out there when you're negotiating, but when you negotiate, you need to know what are you negotiating with, right? So example, if you go on a government, if you're applying for a government role, it actually is transparent. It gives you the salary on the job description. So you know what you can play with, right? And maybe the negotiating tactics might not work because you already know the transparency, you already know, maybe you can negotiate on the higher level, right? Because you see, you have a number to work with. What about those job posting who actually do not like give you anything, any numbers? Now, the responsibility lies on you. Anyone who is looking for a job right now, whether you're switching, whether you're a newcomer, whether, you know what, whatever it is, you're not happy, you want to go where you're celebrated, right? That's why people switch. If the money is a motivation, you are going to switch and you want higher money. So it's your responsibility to go and do the research. And how are you going to do that? You're going to plant the seed in the company, talking to the people, how much they pay. And guess what? You cannot just build the connections overnight, and you cannot tell people, hey, what's your salary? No one's going to give it to you. It's really private. It's very intimate. You're going to go and research, obviously, Glassdoor, pay scale. How many of you guys are on LinkedIn? I'm assuming. Please tell me, all of you guys are on LinkedIn. Type in 1. If you're on LinkedIn, type in 1. All right, guys, there's a salary data on LinkedIn. Do you know that? You can check salary in LinkedIn. Type in 2 if you know. Awesome. Okay, I see people typing 2. All right. So there's a link. I'm going to drop the blog later on and where you can check the salary range. That's your research from outside. All right. Outside is one thing, but if you talk to people inside, you have no idea what's covered. Here's what things that you can negotiate by just asking people inside without asking for salary. When you're doing the information interview, right? Like, you know, you got to do it strategically, not one day you wake up and send them a message, hey, what's the salary? No, that's not how you do it. So you're going to plant a couple of people in that department, like, you know, maybe your future colleagues, right? Like make a friends with them, like, you know what, network and stuff like that. And then you can say, hey, like, you know, what are the perks they offer? I've been looking at it on a website and they say that, you know what, the benefits are like this. Do you have any insights on it? What else is offered when you get hired? The perks. You're going to start with the perks because that's the total compensation package. Who knows about total compensation package? Type it in there. What does that mean? Anyone knows what is the total compensation package? Sophia says that. Sweta, for premium account, which salary data is for basic account holder as well. I'm pretty sure you can check salary data on LinkedIn. Try it out. Okay, salary, vacation leave. Yeah, there are so many things. So I want you to look at, so these are everything that comes with the perks are negotiable, okay? So that's why you need to know before you just talk about salary. I want you to take a look at everything together. So these are the information. You can get it by planting the seed in the company. In the company, when you negotiate, you already know what are the things that you can negotiate, right? So did you know that everything is negotiable, including vacation, right? If you're off for 3 weeks, you can bump the vacations to 4 weeks. You can ask them. And then the other thing is, if you're in the different province, you can negotiate for relocation package as well. They can include the hotel cost until you find the apartment. They can pay for, like, you know, the stuff like the breakfast and food and everything is paid for as well. I know the company and I've worked with the company like that. All right. So if you know what they can offer you, it's so much easier to know what you can negotiate. Relocation package. And the other thing is, are you allowed to, like, you know what, let's say you have a car and the type of job you're trying to get in is, it involves a lot of traveling hours, right? Traveling hours. I'm talking about hours here. So you can also negotiate, let's say you travel, like, you know, 8 hours a week or something, you can carry that 8 hours as a part of the lieu day as well. You can negotiate those things as well. Why are you wasting 8 hours of your energy by just traveling for the company, right? Like, you got to be compensated. Better you negotiate that because it adds up. The other thing is mileage. When you're traveling, if you're using the car, it better be covered. You got to find that out because that adds up on a paycheck. Imagine you're traveling every week and you're not paid for gas or mileage. You know what? That's coming out of the paycheck, right? These are something that I want you to take a look at it. Take a look at what's a take home after looking at the total compensation package. Parking cost. How many of you are from Toronto right now? Type in 1 for Toronto. Ottawa. Just 1. So if you work in downtown or any, like, downtown, your parking cost is through the roof, and we all know that. Better, like, you know, you better negotiate on it, right? Like, you know what, parking costs, if you can put that in there. What about people traveling outside of 401? You better, like, you know, ask for toll road transport ponder cost as well to actually put it in there as well. So, hey, can you do that, right? I'm giving you an example that people don't see. People just think about salary, right? And you're going to move on to perks as well, plus salary as well. So I'm going to tell you this. So there's a way to ask for it, but if you don't know what you have on your hand, how are you going to negotiate, right? So the first strategy. So let's say there are three kind of people who are dealing with it when you're looking for a job search. One is a recruiter, outsourcing recruiter, not employed by company. Okay, so which is like it could be self-employed, it could be some agency recruiter, and maybe they're trying to recruit you for their client, biggest client, whatever it is. They could source you and say, hey, we have lovely position for you. You seem to be a match, let's hop on the phone and talk about it. And they're going to be potentially asking you, but what's your salary expectation? But at that time, I want you to be very careful. Know your worth, though, before you start giving out the range. Know what you're worth, right? Because onus is on you. You have to know what's your worth. You should have done the homework already based on what they're paying, right? Not company specific, but you should know the range already. So here's what I want you to do. Next time the next recruiter who is not employed by the company calls you, I want you to ask them, hey, thanks for calling me. And I feel like, so you found out that I'm the right fit. Can you tell me if you have employed people like me or people within the same industry to your client? Who's the client? Normally, recruiters are not going to tell you who are the clients unless you sign that agreement with them. But you can ask them, hey, have you recruited? Have you given that, my type of client to your client, right? And they're going to say yes. I'm hoping they're going to say yes if they have that niche market, right? So you can ask them if they're asking you what's your salary expectation. So based on your experience, how much was the range your client was paying? Put them back on the pedal, right? You're going to be smart about it. Now they're going to give you the range. Now you have a range to work with. And you're still not going to tell them, oh, okay, I'm good with it. You can say, it looks like we can move on with the process. Let's see how it goes. only if you feel that you want to get that job and if you feel like you're on the right one, right? But if recruiter says, okay, well, you know what are you making right now? It's none of their business. Do you know in states and certain like, you know, states, they're not even allowed to ask that question, how much you're making? Because guess what? How much you're making right now has nothing to do with how much you want to make in future, because you might be working with the same company for 4 years and you might not have even had a raise for 4 years and you're at 60,000. You know what? Do you think after 4 years of experience, you're going to go and compete with 60,000? No, you would go compete with 80,000, right? Here's how you're going to answer to a recruiter. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say, you know what? Let me tell you that this is what I'm targeting. There's no point of disclosing what are you making right now because they're going to lowball you, right? Now, not everyone has the best interest. They're just concerned about their planting the client, but you got to be concerned about yourself. No one's going to save you. You got to advocate for yourself, right? That's how the strategy I teach my client. Do not disclose, but know what are you worth. Because if they come back to you, you can fight back, right? So now next, second person you're going to talk, talent acquisitions. The recruiter from the company, guess what? They know the range. I've been a hiring manager. I was always given a range. So I had the range and I knew how much my people were making, and I can bump them up. I can bump them low if I want to make the offer based on experience, whatever it is. But if I wanted to bump them up the range, then I had to get the sign off from HR VP or my manager or something like that. We always have a budget, guys. We always know. Anybody in the organizations calls you and say, you know what, we don't know the range. They're BSing. Let's put it that way. They should know the range. They have a budget, right? Same questions, you know, based on the experience that I bring in, you know what are the ranges that you're paying right now? And what are the total compensation, you know, package? Can you highlight me? And they're going to have to do it because they're going to have to give you the numbers. Now, the question is always, don't give them before you know the information, right? What if they're paying 100,000? You're saying like, I am onto 60 to 80,000. You just lowballed yourself. Now, keep in mind, there's a law in place that you're protected. Companies are not allowed to pay you less than what they're paying the lowest employee. They cannot start. Any good company would not do that. But the startup would probably lowball you, right? But if you want to work with the popular company, they already have a range and they cannot go below that, right? Keep that in mind. But why start with below? The answer is with you. Always ask them. And then again, you can go with that and you can say, this is what you're going to tell them. And again, it depends on your experience as well. There's a thin line between being confident and being cocky, right? You got to know your worth, right? And you don't want to lose that deal. You want to see if you're a right fit. You can always put the strategy and tell them, hey, you know what? That sounds like a good range to me based on the market rate, based on the research. You know, I do fall on the higher end. Let's continue with it and let's see if we're the right fit, and we'll talk about that. I'm negotiable. It's negotiable. See what you did that? When you did that, that means like, you know what? If they lowball you, your expectation was clear from day one. And you also protected yourself by saying it's negotiable. So you can now, when they give you the offer, formal offer on a paper, you can see all those things, total compensation package and benefits and whatnot. And then you can start negotiating on that. Anyone has any question at this point? Put it on the chat. I'm going to just take a break, pause. Any questions before I move on? Anyone wants to, how about you guys type 2 if you're on the roll right now and you want to negotiate within the same company. Type 2. Okay, I see some 2s. Same company. Sweta says, are these strategies similar across industries? It depends. When you say industries, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on it? give me one industry, let's say. It's a job title. It's not only industry, it depends on, not really, it depends on the company as well, right? Like, if you're starting with some startup, maybe it's a low ball, whereas when you're starting, it depends on the company's brand as well. They've already established that protocol of how much is your title worth. That's why the title is really important as well. So for newbies, what I'm going to talk about is, it's extremely hard to negotiate when you have no previous experience, right? But I want you to go back and think about what are negotiable based on what they give you. So could be, can you work from home 1 day a week? Right? Can you take Fridays off and make up hours later on? It depends on, like, with the family too, right? Like, if you have kids, you can negotiate that. Can you work on weekends? Then you can take weekday off, right? Things like that matters as well. So again, it depends on what the situation is. For the people who want to negotiate as a newcomer, I definitely want you to go back and negotiate on things that matters to you the most, right? Without being very detailed on it. But always negotiate, as long as you're not on that the type of role, like, let's say if you're applying for a unionized role, it might be very hard for you to get that because they already have that collective bargaining collective agreement. It's going to be very tough for you to negotiate, but potentially you can negotiate something else, like the perks and everything, right? Working from home, nothing like that. So Nirja says, how to negotiate with startup company if it's part-time when you're a newcomer. You know what? It depends on like what kind of startup companies are, like, are there. If it's a smaller one, they already have a budget, right? They already have a budget that they're already saying. And again, a lot of startup company I've seen is they employ you part-time because there's no benefit cost that's involved. They just pay you 4% vacation pay or something. There's a reason for it, right? So when you're negotiating with a startup company, I'd probably focus on, again, there's a budget, right? Like, now I would probably focus on the perks that you can bring in, right? Like, part-time hours, maybe. For example, if you're making hourly, I'm not sure, you can bump up, like, $2 an hour or something. Here's the strategy that I tell people to do, okay? You're going to go and ask them first. You're going to go and ask them, like, what? Okay, well, I've done this. What? Can we revisit my salary now? Like, if-then strategy. If-then strategy seems to work great. So now, let's say, for example, it applies to everybody who, let's say, are trying to negotiate with the new company, plus within the organization as well, plus brand new companies. So if-then strategy. This is how it's going to happen. So let's say that you are not happy with the negotiation package, but you really want the job. All right. And they did not give you what you really hope for, but you really want that job to put it all together in resume. So you can say, I bring this experience, I get it. Let's say the negotiation is gone and they feel like this is what it is. Then you can also start at the last closing statement. You can start and say, hey, what's a really important thing in this role that impacts the cost of the business? Can you tell me 1 or 2 things? And they're going to tell you, let's say for customer service, I'm giving you an example. Customer service role, they're going to say, well, customer satisfaction score is very important to us. And that's how your bonus could be based on. That's how your shift work could be based on. That's how we monitor all the cost and everything. That's how we measure the customer, customers, whatever, right? So they give you that pain. That's a pain for them. So you being employed as a customer service associate now is you're trying to solve the pain. What you can say is, what's your score right now? Let's say, 70%. Our average customer satisfaction score is like 70% or so. Okay. Then you can apply if and then formula. If I give you 75% score for my team or myself, this applies to individual, this applies to people managing team as well. I'm throwing an example. So if I give you 75% within 3 to 6 months, then are you willing to revisit the salary or bonus package? if and then. Now what you're doing is you're trying to tell them that I bring value. Look at me. I can do much more than what you're doing right now. I will give you this, but can I get something in return? Can we revisit that in 3 to 6 months? Now, when the time comes, document that and go for it. If you cracked it after 3 months, you're going to sit down and say, remember we had that conversation, document it. Document it. Email is one thing to document, but always have, we're going to go to detail, how do you negotiate? So you are going to piggyback on that email, and you're going to go like, now that I've, given you 75% best based on what I said 3 months ago, you know what? I think it's fair that you come back to me with more. Now have a number in mind. Either you can say, can you increase the salary by 20% in the beginning? Now you can put the table, now that you know the company culture, the budget, within you kind of get an idea. Now you get to do the homework inside, and you can go, I think it's fair for me to have 20% based on what I committed, and this is why. You're not gonna say like, I've been here 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, 6 years. Company doesn't care. They care about the value you bring in. Always have the evidence before you start talking about it. And I get some clients, they are miserable in the company and they want to switch, and they're like, I want more money. And I said, how did you go back and ask your managers? Like, I did. And then my manager says, well, no, I'll do like next year. But I said, how did you ask? It's like, I need more because I've been here for 6 years, 10 years, and other people are getting hired for other people are getting hired for more money. I need more, but that's not how it works. Management do not care if you've been 6 years or 7 years. They care about what did you do, right? And that's a wrong strategy. Focusing on senior, I'm senior, I've been here forever, I need more. That's a wrong. Focusing on I have so many bills to pay, right? That's a wrong thing. Bringing personal things are, management do not care about that. Bring the value together. Now, the salary negotiation should never be done through email, even for anyone who's actually going through the job offer. The thing is that you're going to send them an email when you get the offer. Obviously, you're going to say, hey, can I talk to you about, you're going to put it on the subject line, let's talk, right? So you're going to put it a little bit. You're going to say, you know what, I've reviewed the offer. I have some questions about it, about the total compensation package. Can we please jump on the call and talk, right? Right. Always jump on the call and talk, guys. No email should be done at all at that point. And you talk and you try to understand. It's a collaborative approach, right? And then you're going to go and talk and see what they can do. Come back. Always give them a deadline. Don't wait for it. A lot of people go like, I've done it. Now I'm just waiting and waiting. Clock is ticking, right? So you're going to go say, you know what? I'm going to follow up within the week. Is that okay with you? And follow up again with the email, right? There's a step that I teach in my program, but salary negotiations should never be like, oh my God, I don't deserve this. You deserve everything. You're making money for the company. You better ask for it. You're worth it. That's why they want to hire you in the first place, right? If you can't, you want to go and negotiate anything you could, vacation days, bonus, they will start with the bottom bonus. Company would start you from the bottom bonus, step bonus, if you're eligible for bonus. How about bump it up a little bit more? Things like that really matter. So we don't look at every time we think about, oh, I just want more salary. But guess what? Sometimes I've seen, I'll give you one example. When I started in the contact center, entry level in a banking industry, my salary was 28,000, something like that. We're talking about 21 years ago. Okay. Guess what my take home was? I was selling like crazy. I was top seller. My take home was more than 60,000. Can you believe that? In in a month, I would make so much bonus on it. Right? So you got to look at it what's the bonus calculated on, right? So I would have walked out when I saw the salary at that time, it was still better. But then I would have if I would just focus on salary, then I would have walked out. So think about it too, how the bonuses are calculated as well. Is it tied up to your performance? Is it tied up to the company's performance? You got to find all those things. And how you find out? By talking to the people who work there, revisiting those glass doors, And then also, you know what, doing your homework. Don't shoot yourself in the dark without knowing it. I'm worth more. And just because you're qualified, that doesn't mean anything to employer. Because you have 20 years of experience, we're going to give you more. No, you got to bring the value on it. I hope that makes sense. Any questions for me, guys? Priscilla says, can recruiters inside the companies say salary range? Of course they can. Of course they can. And there are companies, so the funny part is, there are company, I just saw the posting, literally, there's one company, they never used to put the salary, the Fortune Bank, 500 bank. I saw the salary range on it. You know, the salary difference was like 30,000 range. I'm not even kidding. I was like, wow, how people negotiate on it, right? Again, how you negotiate, where do you, like, do you bring 2 years of experience? Do you bring 10 years? If it's 10 years and you know what you can do, you go higher. And if you feel like your entry, like, you know, level, you have something to work with it, right? Plus the perks, right? And then also the funny part is people also, I also teach people on salary negotiation, right? Like, you know, okay, well, I can give you 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days plan. This is what I'm committed to it. And after I do that, can we revisit it before the annual performance kick in? The other thing is companies are really getting smart. So you got to know, when is the performance appraisal happening? Okay. So if for those of you guys who are switching, let's say you got to find out when is the performance appraisal happening. So if the performance appraisal is happening in July and they hired you like around before July, they gave you the money. Now there's no performance appraisal for you. You're going to be stuck for 1 year. There's no raise for you. So you gotta, and then that's when the negotiation comes in, and you can say, well, doing performance appraisal, the next one, when is it? Can you reevaluate, and can we talk about the salary? Then you're not falling behind. See, that's how they get you as well. So you got to be smart about it. You got to know the information. And a lot of time, what I've been in a situation where I was internal and the performance review was coming in like, you know, December or something. And they've started promoting all people around like, you know, November or something. And your performance reviews are not done in December. You just lost your bonus and everything for that year. Right. And I was like, okay, this is what they do. So when you switch, make sure you know when is it. So your increase will also happen when they're doing the appraisal for everybody. So you're not brushed out saying that, oh, we just hired you, you don't deserve the performance. Because every performance appraisal company have to, like, you know, if you're a good performer, it depends on the matrix, how is it going to be measured, right? 3% increase, 2%, 1%. Why would you want to lose that? And that's a huge for those who are making like, you know, 100,000 or more. It's huge. Does that make sense, guys? Or folks? All right. So when you say I think I just like, makes sense. Let me see. There is a blog I'm going to put in. There are more in there. And there's one thing that you want to look at. A lot of people, newcomers, and if you're trying to move the city, I want you to take a look at the blog. And there's a link, links there too. And the link actually says where to go and look at the salary range. But there's a last link, cost of living in Canada. Go there and see it. Just because you're living in Toronto, like you're moving to a different city, that doesn't mean that the range could be same. It could be different. So find that out on cost of living in Canada, and it gives you everything. And that's a very good tool for you to start, like, you know, looking at it, what's your worth, right? Like, you know, just because you're making 100,000 in here doesn't make that in the smaller city, you're going to be making same thing as well. Just know that as well. Know your worth before you start shooting yourself in the dark. I'm not sure if I missed anything, but let me know if you have any questions before we wrap up. And for those of you, I'm going to go live on interview, like, you know, on live soon, right after this, probably. You can follow me on LinkedIn and watch my live if you have time as well. And I'm not going to talk about salary there. I'm going to talk about how do you make the interview conversational. Soft money means money that comes from the grants, for example. So the grants, like, I'm not sure if I'm getting the questions, but like, I want to bring it and tied up on that. Tied up on that. So is it the nonprofit we're talking about here?
Hi, hello. My name is Maria. I made that question. So basically, thank you for your talk. Very nice. Thank you so much. So basically, soft money is all the money that comes from finding sources like associated with science, for example. I'm a postdoc. I work at the University of Toronto. And like most of the time, our salary comes from like grants and CERC or other like agencies, right? And of course, we do a lot more than it is stated in our description, right? But the money that is allocated for our salaries is that money. So how can you negotiate when your money comes from a very limited source? And then, so that was my question.
All right, you know what, to be honest with you, I'm not a subject matter. I'm not going to make it look like I know it all when it comes to grant. To me, it seems like something which is a budget issue, and grant is grant. There's a budget allocated for it. It's going to be hard, but probably something that someone can answer who's actually done the negotiation based on the grant. Anyone can take that question from there? Maybe someone has that experience how to negotiate the grant, because I've never had to deal with the clients who were going to negotiate on the grant or something like that. To me, it sounds like the budget, and I'm pretty sure there's some areas that you can negotiate on it. Anyone wants to answer that question? Feel free. Floor is yours.
Yeah, if you want if we have anyone from academia, maybe they can help answering this question.
I can add a little bit to Nicole. Hi, my name is Olga Peña. I stay in academia for a little while, and I was also part of the hiring force on some of my jobs. So one of the things is that, yes, grants normally, especially for postdocs and things like that, normally they are not really aware of their actual funding pocket of money for the specific positions. But normally there is an allocated number that we all know normally what is the window on that. So going to the PI and negotiating that ideally on the higher end will be ideal. If not, like Shweta was saying, ideally on the benefit packages. So like if they allow you to give you more opportunities, for example, for conference traveling or vacation time, for anything of the other part of the benefit package that even if they cannot give you in money, they can give you in other sources of that will increase in a way your value on what in the moment that they're with the team.
That's what I thought. It's like grant is grant. And I think I worked in the nonprofit world, and I know the grants are very, very, it's micromanaged to the level. It's like you can't touch it, but it's a good point to actually ask for something, I'm not even sure OT is allowed. I think I was talking to someone, research assistant or something like that. And I think they don't even pay, OT is not even a part of the budget, right? So maybe if you work overtime, then maybe ask for that, like you need to be compensated on the new time, vacation time. So if you're not compensated for it, because that's the hour you put, and you can also do that for any industry, right? Like, that's a perk that it's like, okay, well, you can't pay me for it. A lot of the management leadership role in Canada, especially, when you're on salary, it doesn't matter you work OT, you're not paid OT, right? The employer can get away with it. So the way that I started negotiating for it, hey, I'm putting hours, I'm traveling on my Sunday to meet the other team. I'm going to take my Lou Day on Monday, right? Like, what, had I not stepped up to that, then I'd be working 7 days a week on my BlackBerry, right? So like, you should be allowed to negotiate on that. You shouldn't be even asking for it, but find that out. If you're traveling, especially, it kills you. It's like airport time 3 hours earlier, then like you're most probably traveling after work, but then try to put it into like, into the work. And then I started doing not after work, I started putting the schedule together. When I'm traveling during the work time as well, right? So that way, you can get the Lou Day, especially for those people. Like I had no issues with the vacation because I had a lot of vacations, but newcomers to the company, let's say newbies, would not have a lot of vacation, right? So start like negotiating on it. Like if I stay 2 hours and if vacation is really, really good deal for you, instead of getting OT, then you can say, can I put that as a leave time? you can negotiate those kind of perks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So I would highly suggest you all to go into that blog and take a look at it. There are like more details to the T. And also what I want you to do is for those people who want to get a script for, let's say, how do you negotiate? We talk about it, but then how do you do it? You want to probably like, what I will do is by tomorrow, it has to be done by tomorrow. So go on to our company's website, teachanddo.com, go on to the contact us page, and I'm going to put that in there. What you want to do here is, put it in there and then just say, you know what, I need script for negotiations, salary negotiations. Usually we only provide that to our paid client in-house only, but because you guys are smaller, like, you know, smaller team here, I don't mind, like, you know, you submit that, contact us, and then just put salary negotiation script under contact us, and my team will be sending you the email of the script itself. If you're on the process of doing the script, like, you know, working out, so you don't have to think about it, it gives you the script. You can copy and paste it and send it through. It gives you an idea. Okay, but it has to be done by tomorrow. And if we get the request after tomorrow, we're not going to look at it. So make sure it's submitted by tomorrow, the latest, before 12. Does that work? Eastern Standard Time? All right, any questions? Feel free.
12 a.m., 12 p.m., like 12 afternoon or midnight.
Oh, yeah, good one. Midnight. Let's go midnight.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Sweta. It was really insightful. I've learned a lot personally. I hope I can apply some of your tips and tricks. And I hope that everybody learned a lot today and yeah, took some messages home to try to amplify our, you know, strong points in salary negotiation or bonus or yeah, stuff like that. So I'm really grateful for this meeting. Thank you everyone for joining. So we will have an optional breakout rooms. You can join the respective city that you're in, or you can join any other city from the list that you'll get to see when Nicole starts the breakout rooms. So we'll have half an hour discussion. Then yeah, you can click on the breakout rooms that's now popping up. Then select the city that you want to join. So be welcome. We hope you enjoyed it and you learned a lot today. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.